Hey guys, it's Retro Rose here. Welcome back to another Mushy Monday. We play cute and cozy games, and today we're continuing our Life Now and Forever demo update. We are going to pick up where we left out with Wheels. Again, I wasn't feeling too hot last week, so now I'm feeling a lot better. So we're going to pick up, and we should be finishing this episode today. Let's get started. He gave him a reassuring smile that it'd be all right. Shiyu said nothing to no one. Tamrak rejoined the fight for a race, doubled bright to cast away the lingering cloudiness. I cheer really loud when you go by, so you won't forget I'm here. Then, to surprise of everybody, one more speaker tossed in their 2 cents, the most mature in the fake accent one. It's a good idea. I'm not a racer. Whenever we do this, it's between you and Darren anyway. I'd rather watch. Shiyu hadn't known that about his friend, and it was convincing. It was a convincing point. Maybe Baxter's words counted as more than a couple pennies since he was so rich. This had all sent Shiyu for a spin, a bike wheel going out of control, but he planted his feet onto the pedals again, and he was an expert at that. All right. The club members, and not yet club person, have voted. We're gonna split up. Anyone who wants to race is with me, and anybody else who can do whatever they want. But he paused the momentum he'd been building up himself with the lift of a finger, and Shiyu peeked at the group through a single eye. Let's go around the park together before we leave, okay? Okay, cool. Tamrak grinned victoriously. Shiyu turned it into a compromise at the end of the day, but Tamrak considered it a win for her side. Darren managed a tiny smile over it too. You nod and accept Chi's plan to rejoin later. You do something else right now. Everything was decided. A man race was happening. All right, Darren. She squared up to the challenge, furrowing his brows. It's me and you, mano y mano. I don't think that's the right way to say that. Whatever, we're racing. Yeah, we're racing. Then Shiyu laid out how things were gonna work. He ended the speech by saying the race would begin on the word go. Got it? Got it. Speaking in a stiff official manner, Shiyu addressed the non-racers. Baxter, Rose, and Tamrak, would you do us the honor of counting down? Yes, I will. Me too. They can do it. Good luck. 2 people doing the countdown was plenty. Cool. Shiyu slapped the side of his helmet again and declared it was time. To your starting positions. Yeah, I'm so ready. The competitive spirit possessed Darren for a second and cheered wholeheartedly, but it soon left. It left soon. Darren was a little embarrassed by the declaration. The competitors lined up side by side. Shiyu and Darren climbed onto their bikes. Meanwhile, you and Tamrak stood by. She slid her scarf from her neck and gripped it tight. 1, 2, 3. The moment of pure silence. Even Tamrak could show some patience if it was for a dramatic effect. Go. You declared the final word, and Tamrak flung the cloth into the air like a flag. The race began with a whirl of spinning wheels and scattering of autumn leaves. You and Darren were off in a blink. Baxter took that as a sign to get out of the way. He led his own bike onto the side branch of the park path. Tamrak scooted along after him, wrapping a scarf around her neck again. You went with both of them confidently. Baxter stopped in the middle of the path, so Tamrak stalled a little way behind him, and that meant you did the same again. But Tamrak broke free from the chain after that. She used the fact that nothing interesting was happening to go put her bag down on a nearby bench. Then she came right back to her spot in the middle. The combination of Tamrak and Baxter and you was weird. You, Shiyu, and Tamrak made sense because you were friends. Darren being there instead of Shiyu would have at least given you an idea what would happen, or what happened. He had been quiet and kept to himself because Tamrak and you were girls. But Baxter, what was he like without the boys' club? And it turned out that to solve the problem, Tamrak decided to talk as if Baxter wasn't there. She turned directly and intentionally towards you. We should switch. You can try my scooter and I can use your bike. Being totally left out didn't faze Baxter. He faced Timerack calmly, idly rolling his bike back and forth in place. Do you know how to ride a bike? Questioning Timerack's abilities couldn't be ignored. She folded her arms into a knot around the bar of her scooter and spoke to Baxter. Yes, I've done it before. I can try again. I won't fall. I'll try your scooter and Baxter's bike too. Huh? Yeah. Everybody can try something different. Rose, I'll use Baxter's bike. You can ride my scooter and he can have your bike. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing, but your bike is different from his and that's all we got. The swapping strategy definitely wasn't perfect, but it was probably the best that could be done. You'd go along with it. You know, I didn't say anyone could use my bike, but you're gonna. Timerack's mind was made up. This was happening, except for the very first time. Baxter didn't go with the flow of someone else's stream of thought, at least not right away. He coolly ignored her burning desire for the bike. Please, Baxter. She hopped closer into Baxter's space, putting the heat on more. The fire of those ruby eyes was too bright. It got him to sweat and his eyes squinted and his mouth strained. I'll be careful. It can be only for 5 minutes, please. So it went the way it always did with him in the end. Baxter shrugged and put his hands in his pocket and smirked. I guess I could let you borrow it for a little while. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. He took his hand out of his pocket to smooth the front of his shirt, giving a tiny sigh. Baxter must have had an idea of what he'd gotten himself into after what happened at the bridge. Darren and Baxter were close in age, while she behaved like most grown-up 10-year-olds in the world. That's how their setup worked so well. Timerack thought acted even younger than the other 5th graders. And even if adults called you very polite, that wouldn't balance the scales completely. If Baxter wanted to make it through this in one piece, he was going to have to be flexible. His first ride change happened clumsily. Timerack struggled to hold the bigger kid's bike up straight, and she had to clasp both arms over the seat. But a not little enough thing like that wouldn't stop Timerack. She scrambled to get on. It wobbled dangerously with her feet off the ground. Baxter grabbed his bike with one hand and steadied it like calming a wild steed who was only used for one specific rider. He stood there patiently, silently providing support for the safety of Timerack and his set of wheels. I don't know if you can tell my little one's in the back, so that's what you might hear. There was a phrase you didn't remember how you learned. Probably your mom, but it went into fittingly with Baxter's disposition. He had to be confidently thinking this was a fool's errand. She made it up Mount Baxter's bike with her cheeks puffed in effort. Timerack had to use her tiptoes to just barely make a full loop on the pedals. Once, twice, 3 times, she turned the wheels in place. Let's do it. You can take your hand off now. And he did. Baxter's bike went from the stationary cliff to climb to the freewheeling horse again. Then Baxter just watched for a minute to see how that would happen. All that did was Timerack went down the path to the C6 snail's pace and make a declaration. Come on, Rosa Baxter, do it too. And you did. Timerack's scooter was almost exactly your size. It worked as good as you'd hope for a set of wheels that didn't belong to you. You could hear her voice in your head for the same. Had a lot of experience and a ton of skill with scooters. On your own wheels. You were amazing. While you got going, Baxter had done the same. He drifted around the park on a younger kid's bike without batting an eye. Keeping his head held high, Baxter made leisure strides. Woo! So cute. He went up and down the path along with the others. He continued to roll along. Timerack and Baxter passed parades with you and each other as you passed by one another. Some pieces were more flattering than others. Baxter saying how impressed he was with your wheels hadn't completely broken down under him wasn't much of a compliment. Still, it was a good time, as simple as that. You could be smugger than Baxter usually was at how great you were on Timerack's scooter. They're coming. Timerack gasped and wobbled the bike handles for shock. Just as she said, 2 bikes were fast approaching. At that point, Darren had fallen behind. The older boy couldn't come back from it. She had a clear lead. Go, go, go. Over the buzz of the racer's frantic pedaling, Timerack's cheers could still be heard. She kept Her promise nobody could forget she was still there. Baxter set aside the bike and gave a respectful applause to both of the riders as they blew past, no matter what place they were in. Celebrated the competitors. Chiyu looked towards you on the sidelines. It gave you a glimpse of Chiyu's face under the huge helmet for only an instant. He had a determined gleam in his eye before it taken a meteor crashing into the park or something to stop him from grasping victory, but now it seemed like not even that would be enough to stop him. He got no reaction from Darren though. His head was in the game and nothing could distract him from that. Then those two were gone. They reached the finish line soon. After a while, Tamara began shouting about something else. Okay, I'm ready to get off. She was asking for permission to stop riding. Did I jump off? No, she wasn't. No. Baxter echoed your thought for a different reason. To him, her planning strategy was nuts. But I don't know any other way to do it. I can't get it to stop. Baxter stuck his foot out onto the concrete. What? He stared at the little girl's brow furrowed and mouthed agape. You mean it? I mean it. She yelped in reply, and the sight of her barreling ahead changed in your eyes. Tamarack wasn't easy going on the bike. She was going wherever it went. You sped alongside her on the scooter, pausing only to lean the bike on the bench. Baxter rushed towards this speedy fifth grader after you. Hold on, I'm almost there. The bike carrying Tamarack had taken full control. She no longer tried to push herself on. Momentum and hope were keeping her upright. Tamarack stared at your rapid approach and squealed. You were nearly there. She used the last of her balance to send one of her arms straight towards you. Fighting against the speed of Tamarack's scooter to get closer, just a little closer, you managed to catch the cuff of her sleeves. A slight of hold as it was, you held on tight. Then you dug your heels into the concrete hard enough and it stung. It stung. In only a couple of seconds, everything had gone still. Tamarack was there and not collapsed, and you hadn't either. The two of you were simply quietly looking at each other. The change in situation was so dramatic, you needed more time to understand that it happened than it took to exist. Despite the near accident, she showed no fear at what might have been. You did it. Looking like a spinning top, running out of energy, Tamarack wobbled from one side to the other before tipping over. Baxter arrived just in time to give some extra support, or he might have been around longer and only got involved when it was out of control again. But either way, he took hold of Tamarack's shoulder. You came too. Tamarack reached out from her angled position to give his cheek a pat. The friendly squish did not hide the creases in his face. You moved back to give her room to get off. She let Baxter go at the same time as he released her shoulder. Instead, Baxter took her hand in the most gentlemanly of ways and assisted her getting off the dang bike already. It was over. Baxter patted quick and heavy. His head hung low and his shoulders dropped. His hair stuck out in wild directions from under his helmet, and his shirt had gotten rumpled. Basically, he couldn't have looked less like Baxter if he tried. Tamarack glanced around, still a bit in disbelief at everything that just happened. Now that the chaos was resolved, Tamarack paused to talk to you. Real talk. It wasn't her instant reaction to a dramatic event. It was what she wanted to say above anything else. Thanks for saving me. Spending an afternoon together, chasing after her on the runaway bike, it made you think. It was wonderful that you made a friend like her. Eventually, Baxter's breathing even, he gradually straightened himself. When you saw it again, his face had become unexpectedly stern. You and Tamarack shared an unsure glance. With arms folded, he peered down at a bunch of younger kids in front of him. Listen, if you had fallen, there was a 50% chance you would have died. Crying. Really? Tamarack's jaw dropped in amazement of the wisdom and what it meant for what's happened. You saved my life, Rose. Wow. It truly moved her, but before Tamarack could pledge to dedicate her life to the one who saved hers, Baxter spoke up again. No, I was just making it up. He admitted this with his usual smirk and running a finger along his bangs, which were now perfectly in place once more. I have no idea how many kids die in a park crashes, but it could be 50%. You don't know either. A completely different kid of astonishment hit Tamarack and her eyes boggled. This was not some elder individual passing along wisdom. It was another kid giving her a hard time because she gave him a hard time. When the truth of Baxter's lies fully sunk in, Tamarack giggled. This was way better in her head. She had some profound, really. She had some newfound respect for the older boy. I'm sorry, but I cannot get over Tamarack sneaking us in the house when she was in trouble. That was so funny. I think you're a lifesaver anyway. Forget about it, Rose. You were gonna forget something like that. I didn't know you were funny, but you are. Wow, thank you. He's using Tamarack's favorite word for those kinds of situations on purpose, or had she actually wooed him? You couldn't tell. Jokingly, Tamarack switched to an entirely different, unasked for announcement. And hey, I'm a bike boy now too. The proper owner of that set of wheels could only reply with a few airy words. Sure, you're a bike boy. Congratulations. Thank you. At that point, the two missing members of the group came over, pushing their bikes along with them. Looked like their adventure was ended too. Shiyu had taken his helmet off. Hey, so Shiyu won? Darren sighed before speaking a single word to you, even a hello. Yeah, Shiyu won again. Yeah. Shiyu was humble, maybe about the victory. He breezed past it, though. Reading the win as something small was bragging in a different way. What'd you do? Baxter's focus shifted from his club to the odd ones he had been out with for this afternoon. We had fun. Cool. It was time to fulfill your second promise of the day and to go ride all together. The group decided to make a full loop around the park. You are happy to get back on your own bike. Tamarack simply coasted on her scooter, not fighting to be in the front for a change. You pedaled along at a slow pace and let his arms hang down completely. You stayed at the same pace as the crowd, letting your wheels carry you more than anything. Hey, what was the prize for winning the race? Nothing. Baxter shook his head with a smirk. Clearly, things had become a bit too peaceful for his liking. It was not a real race without a prize. Darren should have a chauffeur, Shiyu. Darren's face sprung open from shock at Baxter's taunt. A chauffeur. A person who drives others around as a job. Makes sense, right? No. More like people who didn't race at all should give us athletes a break and drive us around. The not a race shrugged on his bike. Sorry, we aren't that sportsmanly. Yep, sorry. It took a little time, but Darren managed to get into the boys' club back and forth. And you don't get to say what the prize is. Tamarack tee-heed, Shiyu laughed, Baxter chuckled, Darren snickered, and you giggled. It was another day with the club, plus Tamarack, who didn't want to officially be a member. Despite her standpoint on that, the five of you had gone through a lot in the short time that you lived there. It made it to a special place, and you went through the park. You rescued Tamarack from a bike. You had cashews rain down on your head. Tamarack and Shiyu were your friends. You were certain, Baxter, Darren, like. It was amazing that you found so many friends. The mood had gotten so different from the craziness of your first experience there. You didn't try to make people have fun, they already were. Tamarack wasn't eager to do something new because she wasn't bored of this. Darren couldn't think of a point to complain about, and Baxter didn't make a fresh joke this time. People were satisfied and a little sleepy. If it wasn't chilly, maybe some of them would have nodded off, even though they were in the middle of riding their wheels. Front and back and all around, there was somebody you recognized, somebody happy to be there. It was amazing you'd found that many people you liked that much. Round and around, the whole set went through the Golden Grove Park for as long as your parents had allowed it. Oh, we were that close to it being done? Oh my God. Okay, guys. Well, that was nice. That was cute. I can't remember if we did Wills before. I feel like Walks was just there. But, before I forget, I do want to do another shout out to Clover. Clover has been definitely helping me stay up to date about our life in different updates. I appreciate you, Clover, for about letting me know I'm feel better. I'm feeling so much better now. Thank you so much. And I hadn't seen it yet, but they have posted a roadmap for Our Life Now and Forever, and they're planning to add missing moments and free DLC moments for Step 1 and 2 in November of this year. So I'm excited for that. So I would definitely bring you guys that, but I'm definitely going to go ahead next time and do Step 2. But thank you for joining me on this kind of short part for Our Life Now and Forever demo update. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.